This will be a summary of Arc 7, Chapter 10. If you haven't already, I highly recommend you check my summary for Arc 7, Chapter 9, which is linked above. Anyways, let's get started. The chapter starts again with Subaru in the trap alongside the man with the mask. Just a note that there is no flashback. The man has an arrogant smile per usual, and Subaru looks around and notices a settlement which reminds him of the sanctuary and wonders if it's from the people of Shudrak. It turns out that the cage seems to have been made by the people of Shudrak and not actually Rem, and Subaru once again believes he's a prisoner of war, but for different people now. Whilst Subaru is thinking about this, the masked man treats the wounds on Subaru's shoulder and back, applying medical herbs and medicinal items on Subaru to help heal them. Subaru wonders how long he's been there, because of course he needs to get back and rescue Rem, and the masked man tells him it's been around 2 hours. Subaru asked why the masked man didn't actually wake him up. But obviously Subaru was injured, and the masked man knew that Subaru needed to rest. The wound that Subaru received when he was running from Todd was inflicted by the knife that the masked man gave him. Todd threw the dagger at Subaru when he was running away, and it hit Subaru in the back. And then immediately after, Subaru met the masked man when he collapsed. Todd was the only one who wanted to kill Subaru and prioritized killing Subaru. This was because Todd realized that Subaru drew in the witch beast, so he had to kill Subaru before Subaru could call a second one. In other words, Todd had an amazing perception. Todd and the others might torture Rem, so Subaru had to get back to the camp. The masked man, however, and Subaru start talking, but they are actually then interrupted by a pair of green eyes staring at them. It's a young girl, one of the Shudrak people. The masked man explains this young girl is interested in them and has come to the masked man previously and told the masked man to take off his rags, but of course the masked man doesn't listen to anyone. The girl had green eyes and brown skin. Her hair was in pigtails, and she had black hair with peach-coloured tips, which seems to be dyed. She seems to be around 10 years old, and she wore a revealing outfit. However, the thing that shocked Subaru the most was that the girl was one that killed Subaru in the previous loop. The masked man questioned Subaru's surprised nature, and due to Subaru's ranging emotions, the masked man tells him to calm down and conserve himself. Due to the commotion though, 10 people approached Subaru and the masked man. Holding torches, the main leader was a woman with red dyed hair, and with tribal patterns on her. All 10 of the people that approached were women, by the way. The only question which was uttered was, "Who are you?" Subaru ponders upon this. He's never really been asked about who he is or what his identity is. In fact, the first person that asked him this was actually Rem, when Subaru was back in the mansion during Arc 2. It turns out the reason why Subaru and the masked man were in the same prison cell cage is due to the masked man saying that they knew each other. Subaru, of course, introduces himself. The masked man calls himself Abel, and the leader of the Shudrak people is called Mizelda, and do keep in mind that these names are temporary until they are properly translated by Witchcult Translations or something. Subaru explains that he needs to get back to the Valakian camp, but he is countered. The Shudrak people know that the Imperial encampment will fight if necessary, so they cannot take that risk. Furthermore, Todd knows that Subaru called the Witch Beast, so Subaru couldn't call for discussions like he could in the previous loop. Subaru tried to convince them, but in doing so he kept stepping on their pride as hunters. Think of it as when Subaru called himself a knight in the royal selection. Subaru just kept saying the wrong things over and over again. This resulted in the Shudrak people coming to the conclusion that Subaru and Abel were lying. Subaru stated he was telling the truth. The Shudrak people left, and Subaru was shouting that they need to trust him, and of course that they need to go save Rem. The Shudrak people did not turn around. In fact, the only one that did turn around was a 10-year-old girl who looked at Subaru. The masked man talked about Subaru having bad negotiations, and Subaru asked him why he went into the forest despite being advised not to. The masked man Abel said it was a guideline and he thanks Subaru for the input. The masked man Abel states to not look down on the Shudrak is a tribe of women and they don't need men, only for children are men needed. And Subaru wonders if they're selected to have children with the women. The masked man actually laughs and states that they wouldn't choose someone who is a liar, so Subaru needs not worry. Subaru states he isn't a liar, and then remembers to state that the Wallachian Empire will set the forest on fire, which catches Abel by surprise. This was the issue, despite the squad of 20 people that ventured into the forest not being able to fight the snake, witch beast. With Todd's perceptiveness and Jamal's aggression, the chances of them being completely wiped out is low, which means they will retreat when they get back to the encampment. They'll then set fire to the forest. After all, Subaru was Shudrakian, or at least Subaru pretended to be a Shudrakian person, so his hostility would actually cause some retaliation to occur, and there will be zero pushback on the Wallachian encampment, setting forest fires and killing everyone. Subaru thought back to his last loop, the burning of the forest. Abel would have been trapped in the cage, and therefore he would have burned to death. There's a little chance that the Shudrak people would have released him because he was a prisoner and an enemy, so Subaru caused all of them to die, and that was a sin he had to take. During this, Subaru was trying to break out of the cage, biting it, attacking it. The masked man had said that it was futile, he was too weak, and on top of that, he was injured. He asked Subaru why he was doing all of this for a mere woman. Subaru stated that the words mere don't describe the importance of Rem. She was irreplaceable, nothing can compare to Rem. The masked man Abel reveals he's waiting for a chance to take the initiative when the Wallachian Empire makes their move, and Subaru states that the Wallachians will burn the forest. Subaru asks if Abel trusts him, and the masked man Abel again refers to how Subaru trampled on the pride of the Shudrak people. Abel continues that he is not someone of the Shudrak, so there goes the theory that Abel is Shudrakian. All that Abel needs are the facts, and Subaru responds with a, "What if I'm lying?" Abel responds that if Subaru lies, he will pay with his life. Subaru sat opposite to Abel and he made his pledge that he wasn't lying, and even though he would sacrifice everyone and everything, that's something that he couldn't do deep down. Abel listened to Subaru's pledge, calling him a clown and stating that Subaru would be left unburned. Subaru knows that Abel is weak, but at the same time he possesses strength. Abel calls out to someone, and the 10-year-old Shudrak girl was actually eavesdropping. She tried to run, but Abel said that she would lose her chance if she runs away. The young girl states that she doesn't listen to men. However, something resonated with the young girl. She saw Subaru's dedication to save the Shudrak people, and she didn't understand why. And deep down, Subaru didn't really understand why either, and he said that he didn't know. He didn't want people to die, and he didn't want to have to use return by death. That is something that Subaru thought to himself. Abel interrupts the conversation and tells the young girl to bring the chief to them. And of course the young girl is confused, and Abel essentially says, "Look, I have a way to resolve all of this. Bring the chief to me." And the chapter ends. So my thoughts on the chapter is, it looks more and more likely that the masked man Abel is in fact Vincent. I'm still going to make my masked man theory soon, so look forward to that. Anyways, I feel like it's really weird that the Shudrakian people are just a tribe of women. Subaru thought he was going to get death by Snoo Snoo, if anyone here has actually watched Futurama. But yeah, it was really weird. And the masked man seems to be like, he knows what he's doing. What's really interesting is the parallel how the masked man Abel calls Subaru a clown, and I'm pretty sure Priscilla calls Aldebaran a clown or a jester, which is very similar. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, it was a good chapter. Anyways, we'll see where it goes next time. Thank you to my channel members: Lewis Stewart, Zayalid, Alternative Xenia 15, Miss Miu, Is Your Boy 69, Nutregs, OMW, Blue Portal, Brah Moment, and Worst Ness.